Welcome to What Your Dad Should Have Taught You About Love, Life, and Politics. I'm your host, Damon Stewart, and we got an interesting show for you today. To my right, we have...
Maurice Sykes.
Introduce yourself to the people.
I am a lifelong resident of Chicago. Currently, I am an assistant public defender and lead a very complicated life. So there's a lot that I'm looking forward to discussing with the group today.
Sounds good. And to my left of me,
I'm Nate Pendleton, community activist, chef, and just, a regular guy from Chicago, born and raised from the East Side. East Side crazy.
East Side.
And for those of y'all who don't know, I'm Damon Stewart, originally a Brightmoor kid, Detroiter. What up, though, for y'all that's out there? But my life in Chicago has been as a police officer, a detective, and an attorney. We all got some interesting perspectives, but the reason we're here is to make sure we get a chance to talk to you guys about what your dad should have taught you. And today, I thought the first thing we should talk about is what their dad should have taught them when it came to this last election. How should you have viewed it? Now, I know I have an interesting take on it. My take is a little bit different. It might be a little bit controversial.
So can I start, or how do you want to do
Oh, no, you're my guest.
Well, so I will say I identify as an independent, but I have voted 2 times for Barack Obama, 3 times for Trump. So I am very cautiously optimistic about everything that has happened thus far.
This is unique. You might be the first guy I know that voted 3 times for Trump and 2 times for Barack Obama. So you might say you're independent, but you lean a little bit conservative.
I am a conservative.
Okay.
But I can't call myself a Republican, and I can't call myself a Democrat.
Got it.
And that is living here in this blue state of Illinois. That can be a death sentence to not say you're blue.
Understood. Understood. Anthony? I'm Mr. Pendleton.
I don't identify anymore as a Democrat nor a Republican. I have to say I lean more towards, like Maurice said, independent. But there's no way. I mean, don't get me wrong. I just have a dark feeling in my soul when I say Donald Trump is my leader. I can't. This guy stood with a grand wizard. It's no way I could say that this guy. But there is still no way I could say that this guy openly, he openly kicked it with the Proud Boys.
But you're missing one point. You ain't got to say he's your leader. I ain't got to say he's my leader. He leads the country, whether you like it or not. I don't necessarily care for it, but shit, it is what it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't get me
wrong. And he needs some help from areas that we know he's not getting it from. He's not getting the perspective of the black community. He doesn't understand. This is one of the things that I think mess up the whole situation is that they don't recognize, the Republicans don't recognize what white privilege is. Mm-hmm. They don't recognize that, they will make it. Some people don't understand that the way he was raised, the things that he's done, Trump has done in his lifetime.
One of the things, you mean like when he tried to
I have to add in.
kill those kids, those black kids? You mean that one?
Let me jump in. I am a Democrat.
Yes.
I am a Democrat, so I have no problem saying I'm a Democrat. Mm-hmm. I have a problem saying I'm not necessarily liberal or conservative, right? I'm probably in the center when it comes to that, but definitely I'm a Democrat. But I hear us going down the path of our views on Trump in general, but really keep in mind the question that if I was talking to my son, or if you were talking to your daughter or your son, and you're thinking about how should they view or what should they think about this election, for me, this election is just a restatement of things we already know. play the game or get played by the game. Right? Most people going to look at it from a perspective of maybe some rights and border and look at issues. When I'm looking at it, this was like the Game of Thrones. This is definitely like the Game of Thrones. Say what you gotta say, do what you gotta do, be what you gotta be in front at that time, and you're free to change your mind from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as long as you can get people out to vote for you. This election taught me a lot about it.
And that's a problem.
Oh,
And the thing that I would say to my kids is to think about the information that you get and where it comes from. It's actually kind of funny when my oldest daughter was in high school. They had an assignment in one of their English classes where they had to read an article and they had to say what they thought the writer was thinking or what the bias. And I was like, that's one of the most practical assignments that I've seen, because most of us don't think about that. We hear somebody say something and then regurgitate it.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's no processing it. One of the things that you were at when you were talking about Trump with the Central Park Five.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those privileges that most people, goes back to O.J. Simpson. Most white people couldn't understand the concept of a police officer putting a case on a black man, on a person, period. But you have to be careful about who you make upset or how you get vilified, demonized, dehumanized. Because once they can give you a label, felon, black man, deadbeat dad, they can do what they want to do to you. So you have
unless
to.
you're Donald Trump. Unless you have a certain amount of privilege.
So yes,
That doesn't apply to everybody.
that's the privilege.
Yeah.
That's part of the privilege. But they use the same rule book that they use on us. They use the same rule book on him that they used on us. It didn't work the same way.
The thing that I don't
know because everything that they put on him ain't a lie.
No,
Right? It's so
No.
far from a lie, so far from a mistruth. It makes no sense.
But what things would you think about that were not the lie?
That was not the lie.
Yes.
Shoot.
Most people can't tell me about the
I don't
34. What were the 34 felony convictions, and what was the basis, or what were the elements of the crimes that he committed?
Well, for me, it's the things he did when obviously I do real estate law, so I understand the practices that some people have when they would try to inflate the numbers. So when he inflated those numbers, actually the liability that stemmed from that, he was supposed to, right? They caught him. The same reason his one guy who turned on him, who first went to jail, mortgage fraud. You know.
But none of those loans were in default. Now I know
No,
I have
but
people that went to jail for mortgage fraud. Friends of mine that went to jail for mortgage fraud.
Default typically is what triggers the examination. So I get it right. I get it, but it's not what made it criminal.
No, right.
Default made it criminal.
Yeah.
The default made stem the investigation.
He did probably what you're supposed to do, or what is an accepted practice, because the banks are the ones. I can't just go out there and say my property is worth $1 million. Who's going to listen to me? The bank is going to come back and tell me, no, that property is not worth, because here are the comps. Here's so and so and so. Here's
unless you are dealing with private bankers where the rules are a little bit different. You're
Yes.
talking about the traditional rules for the average person. The rules for them are totally
for black people.
Yes, for the rules for them was different. But no, and I don't want to make this all about the stuff he's did in the past or the things he was doing. But again, his credibility on so many issues, for me personally, was astronomically unbelievable. Like, okay, I met with some Russians at Trump Tower about adoption. Really? I'm supposed to believe that? When you got business dealings, you're how old are you and you're about to adopt somebody? It made no sense. right? Some of the stuff made no sense. But I don't care. We know what the truth is. And even knowing the truth, the fact of the matter is, the American citizens decided they were going to vote him in. Collectively, if we wanted gangster as the president, that I'm fine with it. We collectively did it. I accept the results. The biggest issue that I had ultimately will always be January 6th. January 6th, unequivocally, to me, he almost sacrificed everybody who followed him in order to try to stay out. And thank God for them and him. I guess it worked, right? But
not after they spent 4 years in jail, went through the conditions of what they went through. Because if you've seen some of the documentaries that show the way they treated those people just because they were accused.
Do you think they treated them any worse than the average person goes to Cook County?
Yes.
I will have to see that.
Yes. Watch 60 Minutes episodes.
I'm pretty sure they're going to show us one or two people, and I'm pretty sure we can. I've seen people who were ready to kill themselves and hang themselves before they went to Cook County to spend the night.
And you know what?
So I don't know about this.
I will say back and piggybacking off him, I've heard hardened criminals say, "Nah, I'm gonna just cop out to go to the penitentiary because they didn't want to stay in Cook County."
But that's generally because when they go in, there's a whole bunch of people that know the dirt that they've done, and someone's looking for them inside. Most of these people didn't have any background. They wouldn't have known anybody in there.
See, that's another show.
How could the treatment they receive in that? I will watch the documentary. Be worse than what these other guys was going to face when they went in.
We're talking about specific people. We're talking about people from Chicago going to Chicago or going to Cook County with the people that they already know. Many times they've messed over some money. Many times they're there because they're about to tell on somebody that did this, and they don't want to. Those weren't the same issues.
I'm confident it's people who went to the county on facing charges of dealing with children and other things of that nature, and they got tore up. They got tore apart.
So that's a whole other thing too.
They got tore apart as soon as they got in.
There's a different kind of justice inside these places.
No, but the thing is, the only thing they saw, the only thing they were subject to was the same thing that everybody of color in every major city has been subject to. I don't see how them is unfairly treated. No. You broke your butt into a federal. You took your ass in there, decided you was going to attack police. If they were black, is everybody asked this simple question? Simple. If you look at all those people and you change the color, instead of being white folks and they were black, they would have got killed on that lawn.
Would that have been right?
To me, yes, absolutely.
So you're saying it would have been okay for them to kill all of the people, so that if
you protect,
you came in.
To jail,
did they come in with a bad intent? They insurrected.
Absolutely.
So
hold on, no, they come in there. They were saying kill. They were saying kill Vice President Pence. I'm gonna let them in.
I'm not defending their actions. Notice I said I voted for Trump 3 times. I wasn't there. The same thing with the same thing that happened in Chicago and all those other places when George Floyd died. If you notice, I'm wearing a Colin Kaepernick T-shirt. Okay, I supported the fact that I know police have done some bad things. My father was a police officer. I know that they're not our friends all the time.
All the time.
Okay? But people riot because they were not being heard. So I understand why the BLM riots turned out to be but that was an orchestrated attack on our government too. Because it didn't just happen to be a peaceful protest that boiled over in one spot of Chicago. It boiled over in multiple spots at the same time, in multiple cities at the same time. Correct. That's a coordinated attack. Nobody's investigated it. Nobody's talked about the people that got hurt. Nobody's talked about who's planned on this, that, and the other. So if you're really concerned about justice, both sides were wrong. BLM was wrong, and the people that were...
One was way more organized than the other. one was way more organized.
As
And
I'm
one
driving-
one person had the president organizing and leading. The other person, you can't tell me who was running all.
You
the
say that when I'm driving down 67th and Stony Island, and I'm looking at people breaking into
Looting.
the Walgreens.
We've seen riots before.
Right.
It's riots and looting.
But it was the idea. I'm looking at people using crowbars,
Opportunists.
not tire irons like you might happen to have in your car.
They got
They're using tools to break into, bend the gates back on the windows at the
pull
Walgreens.
gates.
Yeah,
They pull gates up off of the windows of liquor stores. They
They got every ATM
It was,
machine.
Yeah.
and it was not in one spot. I drove that day. I was actually moving that day, and I was actually kind of nervous because I had my big truck loaded up with my pulling a trailer. The majority of my guns were in my trailer. I'm like, somebody sees me with a U-Haul trailer, they're gonna think, oh, we can use this trailer to do the thing. I needed to be able to protect, and I know I'm carrying guns.
Which I get, but regardless, we can't get past it. You asked me a simple question. If I'm there and my job is to defend you, and then it's a mob that's saying they want to kill you, and they got weapons and they got bats and they hurting people, and I am a law enforcement, what, don't I have a duty?
Yes,
All right.
yes, you do. And I think that when if you saw the video of the woman who actually got killed, then you would have realized exactly. These people didn't realize what they were doing. They didn't realize how real it was until she's crawling through the window, gets shot, and falls back out. You see their eyes. They're like, "Oh, this is real. We're not playing anymore. So this isn't playtime."
But what made them think in the first place that this was a game? When you try to, when these police officers tell you stop, you cannot come past here, and they get overran. They have.
It wasn't just that,
There was
because there were some that were waving them in.
Come on.
Come on in. Come on in.
It was some cops that was there that supported.
Opening the doors for
That
them.
supported it. It was some. But ultimately, like I would go back to what we're saying, it's almost like in the movie The Time to Kill when he gives what Matthew McConaughey gives his closing statement, and he was trying to get Samuel L. Jackson off and say, "I want you to close your eyes. Picture a child getting dragged."
I remember that.
And he said, "You see that child? Now picture if she was white." And he was able to get him off with insanity. It's like when David Banner said, police kill, now this is his statement, police kill black kids for the same reason black kids kill black kids. They don't see enough value, right? We've seen the complete polar opposite. When all those folks stormed that Capitol, if they did not look like, if they were black or brown, they would not have seen so much value. They would have said, "I can get away with this." And they would have took that shot, and they would have took just a few shots, and then they would have turned their butts around. But nobody seeing that crowd with that makeup could say, and especially if you know that it's being directed by the president.
That's the white privilege that I don't think they realize.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a black man first.
So
when I walk into a room, everybody sees me as being 6'7" black man.
I think they realize, and they fought to protect their privilege. And they fought the proof. They're getting rid of DEI and everything else and affirmative action. Everything they've done has been done recently to inflate and promote their privilege. This is the reason why when I talk to other blacks, I talk to people who say, you shouldn't want them to get rid of DEI or affirmative action. It's not fair. Nobody else is playing by their rules of fairness. They want to do whatever's going to be their advantage. You should want whatever's going to be your advantage.
Yeah.
And it blows me away that it's like when we was talking about golf. And somebody say you cheating because you ain't playing by their rules. Damn it, you ain't playing by my rules. I'm the fool if I play by your rules, which gives you an advantage, and I don't try to create the rules that gives me an advantage.
Right.
And it mesmerized me. So for me, a lot of times I sit back. This is what so first time Trump got in office, I was sick to my stomach.
I giggled.
But I tell you why I was so sick. I was sick to my stomach because I felt like he had pulled the wool over so many people's eyes. And I realized the power of propaganda, the power of speaking, the power of a good lie that you could say convincingly over and over and over again. I realized just how malleable and human beings are because they won't have the time. They like to think of it, but most of us have busy lives and real lives. We don't have the time to look over every little piece of information that comes in. And because we don't guard our ears enough, we all going. I'm confident everybody at this table right now has a thought that they believe is true that one of us can prove wrong. Because we're not capable to guard all of it. So I seen for the first time in my life the power of propaganda get somebody in office and
how about another perspective? Because what I saw was that propaganda from Hillary Clinton, because that's why I was laughing my behind off. The next morning.
But what was the propaganda?
The propaganda was that she was for us. The propaganda was that
who's the us?
Black people.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, I had just experienced a black man being the president for 8 years. And you know what the biggest success for me was? He made it out alive. He made it out so that he could be with his kids. He could raise his kids. He could be that role model that I think black boys in particular need.
Success story.
But to show them that of what we can do, because that's actually what I think is the biggest problem in our community. We're always being told what we can't do. We're always being told how the white man's holding you back. And those are the things that now it shows you can do it. And one of the things that my father told me from the very beginning that I cherish to this day is that I went to the University of Chicago from kindergarten through 12th grade. And he says, I was going to have to work twice as hard or be twice as good to get half as far as my white counterparts. Mm-hmm. So that meant I only need to put in 4 times the effort to get what they were getting. Mm-hmm. I found that's not a hard standard because the average white person doesn't really work that hard. The average white person is being handed stuff. So that's why, it wasn't anything for me to work with my father, go to school.
But you got to see the 2 sets of rules, right?
I see the 2 sets of rules. I recognize the 2 sets of rules. But these are the rules. These are the givens. This is a geometry problem. Mm-hmm. You are given these givens, and you need to prove that you can get to the end result. Mm-hmm. And we're not showing to our kids that there is a path. It may be a little bit harder. It may be a little bit. You may have to do a little bit more. But the effort of the average white person, the 76th percentile white person, it's not that great. I mean, I've witnessed it. I've seen it. I know. But when you start putting yourself at the University of Illinois Law School, and I'm competing with the same people, I didn't know what a horn book was when I went to law school. Most of the kids that I went to law school with, they had their parents. Both of their parents were either a doctor or a lawyer.
But peep this out. So it's funny because this is again, and this goes back to why we're doing this show, right? The reason we titled it "What Your Dad Should Have Taught You" about life, love, and politics is because those kids grew up with a playbook.
Yes.
That we didn't grow up with. We had to figure it out along the way, which gives them an advantage. So they didn't have to work harder because they already had an idea of what was to come. Yes. Right? It's a totally different thing. And what we were hoping and we're going to ultimately do, we probably ain't doing it this session, but in one of these next shows, if we're going to be drilling in the advice we want to be able to give the aspiring doctor, the aspiring lawyer, the aspiring entrepreneur, the aspiring chef. So if that's their path, they know the steps they're going to take.
Yes, we can. Is the message that Barack Obama
But here's
talked
what
about?
That's what he did, but he did so much more. But I also saw the other side thing that troubles me when it comes to the way we attack each other, right? The way we attack each other, like he got in office. I do not care for Trump, but I pray that he's successful. At no point in time did I say I wish he was not. I need him not to be successful, because if he's not successful,
America
is not successful.
Right.
When Barack Obama got in office, they vowed they didn't care what it took for him not to be successful. So that's what made his second term great. But when I would talk to blacks or people in
Trump
general,
wasn't involved with that, by the way.
oh, how was he not?
Because we're talking about the Senate and the House. He wasn't in political office at the time. And in fact, at that time, I think he was
have
still
political voice.
I think he was.
He had a
contributed
voice.
to the
The birther movement. He got into office basically. He jumped into the political limelight because of the birther movement. Right? He the ones to say exactly. He's not even American. So Trump can't get no pass.
There's been a whole bunch of stuff that we question as to whether or not.
Who questions? About we're not talking about whether or not he's American, are we?
I don't care.
No,
but we talk about whether or not we should do the things to Trump that were done to the black man.
No. See, first of all, I don't agree with none of it being done. So that's what I say. I've never agreed with none of it, but I'm not going to pretend like that's why I talk about the power of a good lie. Like it didn't happen on his end just because he's now in office and I'm wishing him success. No, I'm still not going to turn a blind eye and pretend like I didn't see what I see. I don't have to ignore the obvious truths in order to say I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this because this is the democratic process. If we all come together, we vote, whoever gets in there, whether we like them, we love them, dislike them, they're in, they're in. I'm fine with that.
So I'll ask you a question. If President Trump called you into his office or said, can you come talk to me about what you experienced, are you going to his office?
I would have to think about it, because I'm not going to let myself be played by anybody. If I thought it was sincere to actually move the needle for something that I believed in, then absolutely. If I think it's just for a sound bite to be used for political purposes that I have no control of,
isn't it worth the risk? Because
I don't know.
Steve Harvey almost lost his career for doing it. Tulsi Gabbard was lost her career.
Let me explain why
for doing it.
I don't know if it's worth the risk, because if I'm empowering somebody who's going to use this to do things I don't like, then no, you're right. I wouldn't want to empower somebody to be able to do more things that I don't like. So right now, okay, I don't have. And I know I'm a minority when it comes to this. I don't have the huge issue with the immigrants everybody else do, right? I don't. I believe America was born on immigration. That's what the thing that makes us unique, that makes us different than any other country in the world, that makes us have so many ideas, so many different perspectives. I believe in diversity, right? I believe in you may be smart and I may be smart, but we're all looking at things from different views and we can see things. I don't fit in those boats. But I promise you, when it's all said and done, for me, again, and this is where I was going back. When I talk to my kids and I talk to them about this election, I am telling them, if anything, you should learn that, and this is maybe controversial, but this one I call it the power of a good lie. If you say you believe it, and you say it's so, and you're talking about yourself, other people will believe it, whether it's true or not. So say you the coldest, you the baddest, say you the best that's ever done it, and that seed will plant in their head, and I just watched it happen. I just watched like a global social science experiment. For me, it was self-empowering.
All you need is for someone to repeat it sarcastically, however they repeat it. If it's repeated, it's going to keep being repeated.
And that was happening on both sides of the aisle. And in fact, that was one of the most ridiculous things that I came up with just recently. I'm reading the Voters' Rights Act, okay, and they start talking about the presumption of having the ability to vote to people that have finished 6th grade. That's what they think, how stupid we are. They think that the average person in the United States is at a 6th grade level. And that's the way they bring stuff. If you can manipulate a kid that's in 6th grade, that's the way the media seems to be trying to manipulate Americans, period. On both sides.
But y'all gotta realize when it comes, the biggest issue when it comes to the Voter Rights Act, or not just voting, and it went past everybody's head, it was the power of gerrymandering. And what they were able
to off the chain with now.
What they were able to do with the gerrymandering, watered down our votes, watered down our ability to get elected officials in office, and now we're just sitting here.
Look at Illinois.
But it happened globally. But the Republican Party was brilliant. They did it the best. They took advantage of the laws that was available at the time to do it. So this is nationwide, not in Illinois.
So I'll caution you on that one because I just happened to be also reading the Civil Rights Act of '65, and I looked at the vote on that.
But that was in '65,
right? And that's what we're talking about.
No, I'm talking about since the last census, not this past census, the one that was in Jesus Christ,
2000.
Yes,
or 2020.
Yeah, no, 2010.
Okay.
What they were able to do with the gerrymandering after that census was ridiculous. They showed it in Georgia, like how they would make narrow patches where it would touch part of HBCUs and then veer over, stuff that made no sense.
And that's wrong. All that stuff is wrong.
But everybody does it. So don't get me wrong. Right. Even though I identify, I have no problem saying I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. I don't believe anybody is necessarily innocent. Now, the only reason everybody asks me, then why are you a Democrat? Right? I believe in rules, not people. I believe you get power. Nothing corrupts power like power. The more power you give people, the more corrupt they get. And the only thing that help protects us is written rules. And so, where traditionally the Democratic Party believed in more power, and the Republican Party believed in less. They wanted less rules. Right? I was for the rules.
As a 21-year combat veteran, I would have to say those are the things that Biden did. They kicked people out the military because they wouldn't take an experimental drug. When I was deployed in 2004, they had to stop giving us a mandatory vaccination because the anthrax, because it was hurting people. Mm-hmm. But they made us I had to take the first 3 of 5 shots. And we don't know what's going to happen with that.
But this is where freedom is. You had the choice to say no, right?
No,
not if you wanted to stay in there.
God, and are you supposed to have to? Are you supposed to have to make it? So at that particular time, you couldn't get out because I was under orders for combat.
So it's like the Tuskegee experiment.
They had a stop loss. Yes, it was like the Tuskegee experiment, but they did it not just on black people. They did it on all service members.
Again, I'm not one who says this person is perfect. This person is perfect. I throw them all. I call it like I see them for both.
and that's my problem is that we should call it like we see it, but at the same time, we're not getting the full picture. And it takes a little bit more than this drive-by media that you have to dig a little deeper into what's really going on. And a lot of people didn't realize that every one of those immigrants that was coming to the city of Chicago was being counted in the census. Now, it helps most of the blue people here where they figure they're going to get an extra representative. And if you get an extra representative that's going to vote the way, if you put them strategically in Cook County, because Cook County is pretty much what makes Illinois blue, period. You go outside Cook County and most of the state is still red. So
they're even red when it's against their interest.
So when they have all of these people coming into the county, you get another representative. but it was actually a stop loss because we were losing so many people because we lost an actual representative in the last census.
Let's go back in it. Well, recently, so I can't go back 10 years ago. Since 2020, how were these immigrants getting to Chicago?
They were being shipped by the governor of Texas, and because they said they didn't want them.
I got it.
They said they didn't want them.
No, it was a brilliant political move.
Yeah,
that's all it was. So you can't blame Chicagoans. Hold on, it's wrong to blame Chicagoans. Like when I get the mayor get the criticism for having the immigrants. Damn, he was dealing with what was given to him. He trust me. If he could stop the bus and plane and turn it around, he would.
It was political back when Rahm Emanuel did it. It was when Rahm Emanuel declared the city of Chicago a sanctuary city. And I'm told on my job that if you help anyone apprehend, you may lose your job. Mm-hmm. You as a police officer, you called ICE and said that there was a criminal that you arrested that you knew you would have lost your job. Am I not correct?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I never would have crossed my mind. If I locked somebody up, I would just worried about our county.
The county sheriffs, they knew the people that were, but if they had reported to ICE that someone was there.
But for some people, it's inherently bad that we were a sanctuary city. I'm not one of them. Right? Again, I don't have to say, I don't. So there's some people look at immigrants as if they're inherently wrong. I don't.
No, those are uneducated people because there is a difference between immigrants and illegal immigrants. And the illegal immigrants are the only ones that Trump is really concerned with. He believes in an immigration policy. Our immigration policy was developed so that we would get the best and the brightest from other countries that could really help our country.
And I hate to say it, but it's almost as the mayor said it. He was like, when you seen a bunch of Ukrainians come, nobody said nothing. When you seen black and brown come, it's a problem. For me, no. Again, they can't work twice as hard. This is something that's just based off the color of their skin. So for me, again, whether we talk about illegal immigrant or immigrant, they're not nobody's inherently just bad.
No.
Right?
No.
I can't. There's a child here. He came here because his parents brought. He's a legal immigrant. Doesn't mean that kid is bad or good. And I'm not going to get caught up in looking like that. I'm still going to go with my ideas that it's funny they talk about DEI and judging people by the character. It should be something that focuses on it. Yes, you have to figure out a way to stop people from getting in. Absolutely. No problem with doing what you can to do at the border, but treating the people here like they're inherently bad, I don't know about that.
And it's wrong. That's the wrong part from when we have these debates and conversations. DEI, my biggest argument has been we're arguing two different things. The Democrats have one definition of DEI, just like those are buzzwords. That was one of the biggest things that I hated in law school because people use buzzwords with an attempt to demonstrate that they knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But they're not arguing the same thing. They don't have the same definitions. And the Republicans look at DEI as a huge negative because of the things that have been included into DEI.
Because it threatens. They don't want to do anything that's going to take away an advantage.
That's our conclusion, but
why would anybody want to do something that's going to take away their advantage? They're not focused on fairness. You're not focused on fairness. They're focused on an advantage.
So
if you look at just one subtopic, then yes, I can say okay, there's fairness. But when you start to look across the board and things starts to pop up, you start to see this is not about fundamental fairness. This is about why kill my advantage? Why? And I'm not even mad because it's not nobody's human nature to take away their advantage.
Correct.
I get it.
And that's why it's against many of our self-interest to vote in particular ways. But if you want a meritocracy, which that's what Trump has been talking about, I don't think that he understands the problems with a meritocracy, that there are subjective standards. He probably didn't understand how the ACTs and the SATs were racially biased. So if you have put in a certain amount of work, and this was one of the reasons that my father sent me to the University of Chicago, was because he did everything he was told he was supposed to do in the Chicago public school system, and then went away to college and found he wasn't prepared.
Okay. Now you say you don't think Trump was aware of certain things. The problem is he surrounded himself by white nationalists.
Yes.
So if he surrounded himself
White
by
people.
white, I'm saying no. He surrounded himself by white. It was white nationalists.
So there was some.
There definitely was some, and he knew this at the time and had no problem with it. So he putting around himself, and people not getting, when you say white nationalists, it's people who, in my mind, wants to make sure that whites have an advantage, right? They're looking for the edge. They want to protect whatever advantages that they have, right? It's not necessarily saying that they hate this person or that person. It's all about them having an advantage and creating a world that benefits them based off the color of their skin. And
that's human nature.
Again. But not many people get into that office, because when you become the president, you're the president of everybody. You expect him to look out for everybody. But when you see somebody who has that position, it's hard for me to imagine and accept whether or not that they're really thinking about me. But the good thing is back to what you were saying, what your father's saying. And again, this is the advice I give my kids. It doesn't matter. You're going to take care of you. You're going to put in the effort for you. And more than anything, you're going to understand and appreciate the power of a good lie. Because you may not know. And like I said, everybody said, what's a good lie? Simply saying that you believe you're the best in everything, rather than not you believe yourself you're the best in everything. It works.
It works. It's perspective.
Yeah, and the more you give your perspective to others, the better your chances is of being given opportunities, because somebody else will perpetuate. You could be your own propaganda machine. Let me say it like that. You can be your own propaganda machine.
And that's what I'm saying about our leadership in the black community. The leadership in our black community is not sending the right message
at all.
The leadership in our black community is not telling these black kids, hey, if you focus on STEM courses, you focus on math and science, then you can do anything in the world, because it's the foundation.
I think I make it simpler. One of the other words I tell my kids, the question, this was the exchange. They said, a person who can read can do anything. And I would say, why is that? And the response was, because there's a book that shows you how to do everything. Like, a person who can read can do anything. So there's a book that shows you how to do everything.
And that is the problem, because there's a book that will tell you how to do it wrong. And if you can read that book, you have to be able to use some logic. Math is based in logic. Science is based in logic. Science is based in a set of rules that you can apply to everything.
In the example I gave, they're reading the right books, not the wrong books.
But now, what are the right books? What are the right books? Because most of the books.
It depends. It's subjective. It's what you want to do. A person can read, can do anything. So the next question is, what do you want to do? And then you find the book that shows
you how to do it. Which
can reverse engineer about anything nowadays.
But that is the problem, that you have to process what you're reading. You have to process what you're hearing, because anybody can write a book. Anybody can get it published. There's nobody, second gets going back. There are a lot of lies in these books. Mm-hmm. I question Christopher Columbus stories when I was in grammar school. It's like, how did he discover that?
Discover a place that's already found.
It's perspective.
People been here.
Yeah, okay. There's some books on perspective, but how to. If I want to read a book on how to become an attorney, if I want to learn, it's going to tell me, well, you're going to have to get good grades. You're going to have to get the LSAT. It's going to have certain things in there that's going to be a standard. That's not subjective. That's why I said there's a how-to. And right now, knowledge is out there for those who are thirsty, who want to find it.
But we reject a lot of that. We reject it because, you're a nerd.
Oh no!
You're a black man. You're a black man that really doesn't know. You didn't even you went to a PWI. You went to such and such a thing. You don't know anything about being black. We do that all the time. Barack Obama. There were so many black people that said he wasn't really black.
Trust me, like I said, I was bothered about the criticism. Yeah. But because we run into the end, if before we get out of here, one piece of advice If your kid was talking to you about the last election, what would you give them? What would be your advice? What would you tell them? What should they know?
Read all of the information. Politics, you have to read. You can't get around it. Know who you are voting for, because in the end, whether you like it or not, it's going to affect you one way or another.
What about you? Any last advice? I know what I would tell them.
You have to. What I told my kids was know what your goals are. Know know why you're voting for that person. Research the people. Research all of the candidates. When it comes down to it, the only election that I participated in my life that I didn't have to select the lesser of the two evils, or I still wound up doing that
because that's what you're doing anyway.
But it was between McCain and Obama.
McCain was nice, but never.
When I vetted every election, I vet all of the candidates on the Republican side and on the Democrat side. And it just so happened that was the only year in my life that my Democratic candidate and my Republican candidate were running against each other for the general election. And I voted like a stupid person because I voted because he was black.
He said that. So at the end, we're gonna have to revisit that.
we gotta get back in that.
I thought it was a quick
Maurice. That was a punch in the guts on the way out. Just letting you know.
I don't
That was a punch in the guts.
Really don't agree. For me, when I look at past elections, and I would advise you, if you're looking at past elections, the most important question you should be asking yourself, and I would tell my kids, is not who won, it's how they won. Most important is ain't who won, it's how they won.
Who told the biggest lie?
In this election, it's obvious.
No, it wasn't.
Shoot,
that's another topic for another day. Because I can expose all of the lies that they told in this past election. Because there was a whole lot of them on the Democratic side. Yes. Yes.
All right, that'll be for the. Hey, listen, I'm gonna be going on his show,
and we're gonna be fact checking too.
And we're gonna go on his show because, woo, kid, be your own propaganda machine.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's it. Thank y'all for joining us.
I think I got kicked out. They didn't warn you, did they? Because I could go.
Oh no! I know.